Look, I'm involved in things. Dangerous things. So keep your distance.
With the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake less than 2 weeks away, now is the best time to go over what's changed, what stayed the same, and what you need to know for one of 2020's most anticipated titles. So without further ado, let's jump right in. What's up guys, Josh here. Real quick addendum to the video that you just clicked on. The game Final Fantasy VII Remake is set officially to release on April 10th. As of the time of this recording, it is April 2nd. However, because of the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic that we are all living through, Square Enix actually shipped copies of the game early to some territories in Europe as well as Australia. So by the time that you're watching this game will have already been out for lots of people. Another interesting tidbit is that the game on PS4, for those that digitally pre-order games, you know that when you digitally pre-order a game, I believe it's 72 hours before the actual release date, so 3 days beforehand, you can actually pre-download it and preload it. That way, when midnight hits, the game unlocks and you can start playing right away. Well, an interesting note to that is that I saw it circulating, but I don't know if it's been verified. But instead of the preload and pre-download being April 7th, which would be 3 days before the April 10th release date, that was supposedly moved up to sometime here in the near future within the next day or two. So does that mean that Square Enix is going to release the game early digitally as well as physically? That remains to be seen. But in the video that you are about to watch, I do say that the April 10th is the release date because that's what originally was. But I wanted to give this update to you. So there you go. There you have it. Who knows? Again, it's unprecedented. But either way, enjoy the video, and now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now, I'll start at the very beginning, just in case you've been living under a rock or you just left Vault 111. Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced all the way back at E3 2015, and what seemed like a fanboy's fever dream come to life. It showed various aspects of Midgar and just the shortest glimpses of Barrett's gun arm and Cloud's Buster Sword. Now fast forward almost 5 years and it's finally set to release on April 10th, 2020. Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually just the first part of the overall planned release structure for the game. For the uninitiated, this remake is only going to cover the opening act of Midgar from the original 1997 title. Square Enix has stated in various interviews and dev diaries as to why, but long story short, they wanted to create everything from the original in the highest quality possible without cutting content, while also adding new elements, so the team at Square Enix decided it had to split across multiple entries. And for those that played the original, you know that area is only a small portion of the overall game and can be beaten in roughly 5 to 8 hours. So the question is, how is Square Enix going to take that and expand it to create a full-length title? For starters, Square Enix has already confirmed that entirely new areas of Midgar will be explored. While these areas were only hinted at or alluded to in the original, Square Enix promises to, quote, fill in all the gaps and create a more cohesive experience. What new areas, you might ask? Remember how Midgar is actually broken up into upper and lower plates with the upper class citizens living on top? Makes sense. Between being able to explore the upper plate and other sectors, this version of Midgar seems to be on track to be a fully realized version that we originally had to fill in with our imaginations. Game director Tetsuya Nomura also confirmed that the game's side content would be as large as the main quest. Now, whether that means the individual mission sizes or the length of time it takes to complete those remains to be seen. However, one of the side characters you receive quests from, referred to as, quote, mercenary quests, is Chadley, a 15-year-old whose quests typically revolve around materia. Now, some of the secondary characters from the original are getting expanded backstories as well. Nomura stated that we will have a scene involving Jesse's parents, where we'll sit down, have dinner with them, and presumably learn more about her. In fact, all members of Avalanche are expanded on, giving them depth just not seen before. Another interesting tidbit of information is that at some point during your travels through Midgar, you'll be able to hop into vehicles to make the trip faster. Now, to clarify, we're still not sure if that means you'll drive around a la Final Fantasy XV, or if it'll be more of a fast travel system. My guess is the latter, but hey, you never know. Now, number 2, this one ties into the first point, as there will be entirely new characters introduced specifically for this remake. For starters, the cast surrounding Don Corneo will be expanded. First up, there's Madam M, the owner of a hand massage parlor. Andrea Rodea, manager of the Honeybee Inn. Then there's Leslie Kyle, who described by Square Enix as Don Corneo's lackey. And finally, there's Chocobo Sam, who's, you guessed it, a Chocobo Wrangler in Wall Market. While it's uncertain how much these characters will play a part in the overall story, it is still really nice to see Square Enix continue to expand on details that we just really didn't see before. Apart from the attention that Wall Market is getting, there's also the addition of Roche, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Roche, who's a 3C soldier turned rebel who likes, quote, speed, bikes, and anyone who can give him a challenge, end quote. Now, again, what role he plays in the overarching story remains to be seen, but again, it's really cool that we're getting more of a backstory from the soldier aspect of the overall plot. That was something that was only touched upon in Midgar in the 1997 original. And finally, speaking of things being introduced earlier into the title than before, is of course the introduction of the man himself, Sephiroth. So, for a little backstory, he was not introduced in the 97 original until the flashbacks you experienced in Calm, which was basically the first town that you visited outside of Midgar. However, because Sephiroth is such an iconic antagonist in video games, Yoshinori Kitase, director of the original Final Fantasy VII, basically decided that there wasn't any real reason to hold him back like in the original. But again, just like before, how much he'll be shown and what story aspects will be remixed or introduced has yet to be seen. All things considered, though, it is very cool and nice to see that Square Enix is not afraid to play around with such a revered and beloved classic. And finally, number 3, the battle system, I'm sure you know, maybe not, has been completely reworked for modern gaming audiences. For starters, it's much more action-oriented than the original, which was very much a traditional turn-based RPG. However, it is not like a Devil May Cry or a Bayonetta where you're going to be button mashing or inputting, complex combination for flashy finishing moves. You'll basically use the square button to use your standard attack at your discretion. And by connecting your standard attacks, you'll fill up 2 ATB or active time battle gauges at the bottom right-hand portion of the screen that will then allow you to use your special commands like magic, items, and of course limit breaks. And when you use those commands, your ATB will drop down and then the process repeats. Now, another wrinkle is positioning around your enemies. All the mainline Final Fantasy games up until 10 had your party on one end of the battle screen and then enemies on the other side, basically lined up opposite each other. With this remake, though, it'll actually be critical to use your positioning against the enemies to defeat them. The earliest example is, again, the Scorpion Sentinel, where you'll have to maneuver to their weak point accessed only from behind. It's also going to be necessary to take control of your different party members. Again, just in the recently released demo, there were 2 times Barrett needed to take over. The first was against the turrets that were posted above the party member. Cloud's melee attacks were out of range, so it was up to Barrett's gun arm to be able to reach and take down those enemies. The second was again against the Sentinel Scorpion, where it was necessary to basically do the same. Overall, though, from the hands-on previews and the demo that was recently released to the public, this game seems to be shaping up to be something that's pretty special. While we won't know if it'll hold up over the course of the entire experience, here is to hoping that we do get a game that pays homage to its roots while still adapting and modernizing it for a whole new generation of players. There you have it, guys. It's the most important details to know about Final Fantasy VII Remake before it releases on April 10th for the PlayStation 4. I'll definitely be going into a deep dive into the game once it releases, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you know exactly when that goes live. Give this video a thumbs up and tell a friend to check us out while you're at it. We always appreciate the love and support, and until next time, you guys stay safe.
Who's there? Door! Oh, wait! It's over!
That's my line.